There's a fine line between healthy self-confidence and destructive arrogance that refuses to acknowledge limitations. But these individuals cross that line spectacularly, letting their egos write checks their abilities couldn't cash, resulting in disasters that humiliation alone could have prevented. 1. A man got hopelessly lost while driving but refused to ask for directions or use GPS because of his pride. His wife begged him to stop and ask someone or check his phone for maps. He insisted he knew exactly where he was going and didn't need help. His male pride wouldn't let him admit he was lost. He drove in circles for over 3 hours, wasting gas and time. They missed their daughter's wedding ceremony completely, arriving 2 hours after it ended. His daughter was devastated they'd missed her walking down the aisle. They missed all the family photos and the entire reception. His wife didn't speak to him for weeks afterward. His relationship with his daughter was permanently damaged and she brought it up for years. The GPS on his phone had been working the entire time. His stubborn pride cost him irreplaceable memories with his family. His daughter never fully forgave him for missing her biggest day. 2. A woman refused to admit she couldn't swim and jumped into a deep pool at a party to look brave. Her friends were all swimming and someone jokingly challenged her to jump in. Her pride wouldn't let her admit she'd never learned to swim. She jumped in confidently and immediately started drowning. People thought she was joking at first. By the time they realized she was serious, she'd inhaled water and was unconscious. Someone pulled her from the pool and paramedics performed CPR. She spent 3 days in the hospital recovering from the near drowning. Her medical bills exceeded $15,000 for emergency treatment. Her friends were traumatized by watching her nearly die. She became known as the girl who almost drowned because of pride. The party host felt guilty for months despite it not being their fault. She was too embarrassed to see those friends again. Her pride had nearly killed her over a meaningless pool challenge. 3. A man refused to ask for help carrying a heavy sofa upstairs to prove his strength. Professional movers offered to help, but he waved them off proudly. He insisted he could handle the 300-pound sofa alone. Halfway up the stairs, he lost his grip completely. The sofa fell and crushed his leg against the stairs. His femur broke in 2 places with an audible crack. He screamed in agony as neighbors called an ambulance. Surgery was required to fix the broken bone with metal rods. His medical bills totaled $40,000 for surgery and recovery. He couldn't work for 4 months during recovery. Lost wages added another $20,000 to his costs. The movers would have charged $50 to help him. His pride cost him $60,000 in permanent mobility issues. He walked with a limp for the rest of his life. His leg ached whenever it rained. The injury prevented him from playing sports he loved. 4. A woman refused to wear her glasses at work because she thought they made her look unattractive. Her vanity kept the glasses in her purse instead of on her face. She couldn't see her computer screen clearly without them and constantly squinted. She misread a crucial email from her boss about meeting locations. She showed up to the wrong place while her boss waited at the important client meeting. The client was insulted by her absence and lack of professionalism. The company lost a $200,000 contract because she never showed up. She was fired immediately for the costly mistake that lost the client. Her boss discovered later she'd misread the email because of vanity. Her refusal to wear glasses cost her a $75,000 per year position. She couldn't get a good reference after being fired. Her pride about her appearance destroyed her entire career trajectory. The glasses sitting in her purse would have prevented the disaster. 5. A man refused to admit he was wrong during an argument with his wife about directions on a road trip. She insisted they should turn left, but he was absolutely certain it was right. His pride wouldn't let him concede she might be correct about anything. He turned right despite her increasingly frustrated protests. They drove for 2 hours in completely the wrong direction. They missed their hotel check-in time and the room was given away. They had to drive 3 more hours to find any available accommodation. The new hotel cost $300 more than their original booking. They were exhausted and fighting by the time they finally arrived. Their romantic vacation was ruined before it even properly started. She brought up his stubborn wrong turn for years in future arguments. His pride had turned their getaway into a nightmare road trip. A simple GPS check would have shown she was right all along. 6. A college student refused to ask the professor to clarify an assignment because he didn't want to look stupid in front of classmates. His pride made him assume he understood the requirements perfectly. He spent 3 weeks working diligently on the completely wrong project. When he submitted it, the professor was genuinely confused by what he'd turned in. His submission had nothing whatsoever to do with the actual assignment. He received a 0 on the major project worth 40% of his grade. The 0 dropped his overall grade from an A to a D for the semester. He lost his academic scholarship because of the failed grade. The scholarship had been worth $20,000 per year for 4 years. He had to take out massive student loans to continue his education. His pride cost him $80,000 in scholarship money over his college career. Other students had simply asked for clarification and completed it perfectly. His fear of looking stupid for 2 minutes destroyed his financial future. 7. A chef refused to follow a recipe exactly because he thought he knew better than anyone else. The recipe had been perfected over years by a renowned master chef. His pride made him change several key ingredients and cooking times. He was preparing dinner for his girlfriend's parents for the very first time. The dish came out completely wrong and was nearly inedible. Her parents politely tried to eat it, but clearly hated every bite. His girlfriend was mortified and embarrassed by the terrible meal. Her parents thought he couldn't cook at all and was completely incompetent. They quietly opposed their daughter continuing to date someone so incapable. The relationship was damaged by the terrible first impression he'd made. They broke up 6 months later, partly due to her parents' strong disapproval. His culinary pride had cost him the relationship and potential marriage. Following the proven recipe would have made him look like an excellent chef. 8. A woman refused to ask for help reading a complicated contract because she didn't want to seem unintelligent to her colleagues. She signed the multi-page business agreement without fully understanding the legal terminology. Her pride made her pretend she grasped all the complex language. Buried deep in the contract was a strict non-compete clause she'd overlooked. She didn't realize she'd agreed not to work in her industry for 5 full years. She quit the company 6 months later for what seemed like a better opportunity. Her old company immediately sued her for violating the non-compete agreement. She lost the lawsuit and owed $250,000 in damages and legal fees. Her new job offer was immediately withdrawn because of the legal complications. She couldn't work in her field for 5 years as the contract stipulated. Her career was completely destroyed by not asking a lawyer to review the paperwork. A lawyer consultation would have cost only $300 for a thorough review. Her pride cost her $250,000 in 5 years of her career. 9. A man refused to admit he didn't understand how to use power tools safely and properly. He was building a deck and his experienced neighbor offered to demonstrate safety techniques. His masculine pride made him decline the help condescendingly. He started using a circular saw without understanding the proper technique. The saw kicked back violently and cut deeply into his hand. He severed 2 fingers partially in the horrific accident. Emergency surgery was required immediately to attempt to save the damaged fingers. His medical bills exceeded $35,000 for the surgery and rehabilitation. He had permanent nerve damage and significantly reduced hand function. He couldn't return to his job as a professional mechanic anymore. His career was ended by his refusal to learn proper tool safety. The neighbor's advice would have taken only 5 minutes to absorb. His pride cost him his fingers, his career, and his livelihood permanently. 10. A woman refused to ask for directions while hiking because she was certain she knew the trail perfectly. Her hiking partner repeatedly suggested they stop and check the trail map. She insisted she remembered the route clearly from hiking it years ago. Her overconfident pride led them down an unmarked wrong path. They got completely lost deep in the wilderness as darkness fell. Night came and they had to sleep in the cold forest unprepared. They had no supplies whatsoever for an overnight wilderness stay. Search and rescue had to be called when they didn't return. The rescue operation cost taxpayers $50,000 in helicopter and personnel expenses. She was personally billed $5,000 for her portion of the unnecessary rescue. She faced harsh public criticism in local news for the avoidable rescue. Her pride had endangered both their lives over checking a simple map. 11. A man refused to tell his doctor about concerning chest pains because he didn't want to seem like a hypochondriac worrier. He felt persistent chest pains but was too proud to mention trivial symptoms. His pride made him dismiss the warning signs as probably nothing serious. He was actually having early warning signs of an impending heart attack. He ignored the increasingly severe symptoms for 3 full days. He finally collapsed at work from a massive heart attack. His heart sustained permanent, irreversible damage from the treatment delay. He needed emergency surgery and spent weeks hospitalized recovering. The medical costs exceeded $200,000 for all the treatments required. If he'd called earlier, simple medication could have prevented all the damage. His pride about seeming weak to doctors nearly killed him completely. He now had lifelong heart problems and limitations from waiting too long. 12. A woman refused to admit she needed reading glasses and kept making embarrassing mistakes at her accounting job. Her pride wouldn't let her acknowledge her vision was naturally declining with age. She repeatedly misread numbers on critically important financial reports. Her errors cost the company $50,000 in a bad financial transaction. She was immediately demoted for the expensive and preventable mistake. Her salary was permanently cut by $20,000 per year going forward. Reading glasses would have cost exactly $100 at the optometrist. Her vanity and pride cost her significant career advancement and income. Coworkers had noticed her constant squinting, but she'd aggressively denied any vision problem. Her refusal to get glasses was painfully obvious to absolutely everyone. Her pride had made her look incompetent instead of just aging normally. 13. A man refused to take a taxi after drinking heavily because he insisted he was completely fine to drive safely. His concerned friends offered to pay for his ride home entirely. His pride made him claim loudly he wasn't even drunk at all. He got behind the wheel confidently and started driving home. He was pulled over by police within exactly 3 blocks. He failed the breathalyzer test spectacularly. He was arrested immediately for DUI. His legal fees and fines totaled $15,000 when everything was finished. He lost his license for an entire year. His job required daily driving, so he was promptly fired. He lost $60,000 in income during his year of unemployment. The taxi ride would have cost merely $25. His drunk pride cost him $75,000 total and destroyed his career. His criminal record affected job applications for many years afterward. 14. A woman refused to evacuate during a mandatory hurricane warning because she didn't want neighbors thinking she was a coward. Officials ordered complete evacuation of her coastal area. Her stubborn pride made her stay to prove she was tough and fearless. The hurricane hit significantly harder than anyone had predicted. Her house was severely damaged by catastrophic flooding. She had to be rescued dramatically by boat from her roof. The dangerous rescue put first responders' lives at unnecessary risk. Her house repairs ultimately cost $100,000 to fix all the damage. Insurance didn't cover everything because she deliberately ignored mandatory evacuation orders. Her pride cost her $40,000 out of her own pocket. She'd endangered brave rescuers with her stubborn, foolish pride. Neighbors thought she was reckless and foolish, not brave or tough. 15. A man refused to ask for help when he got hopelessly lost in a foreign country where he didn't speak the language. He couldn't communicate at all and was completely disoriented in the unfamiliar city. His travel companions suggested asking their hotel concierge for clear directions. His worldly pride made him insist he could figure it out independently. He wandered around for hours, getting progressively more lost. He missed their expensive scheduled tour that had cost $300 per person. They also missed their flight home because of his wandering. Rebooking the international flight cost $100 for both of them. His pride turned a simple navigation issue into a $1,500 travel disaster. Hotel staff would have happily provided detailed directions in English. His desperate need to seem sophisticated and worldly cost them significantly. 16. A woman refused to use a step stool because she didn't want to admit she was too short to reach high shelves. She climbed precariously on an unstable rolling chair instead. Her pride about her height wouldn't let her ask someone taller for simple help. The chair tipped over suddenly and she fell hard onto the floor. She broke her wrist badly in the painful fall. Surgery was required to properly set the fractured bones. Her medical bills totaled $12,000 for surgery and recovery. She couldn't work for 2 full months during recovery. A basic step stool would have cost $20 at any hardware store. Her pride about being short cost her $12,000 in months of disability. 17. A man refused to follow his GPS navigation because he was convinced he knew a significantly better route. His wife kept pointing out the GPS was suggesting a completely different way. His stubborn pride made him trust his decades-old memory over modern technology. His supposed shortcut added 2 frustrating hours to their trip. They missed their anniversary dinner reservation at the exclusive restaurant. The restaurant charged them $200 for the missed reservation anyway. His wife was furious about the completely ruined anniversary celebration. His pride had destroyed their special romantic evening together. The GPS route would have been faster, easier, and actually correct. His stubbornness became the anniversary they'd both rather forget forever. 18. A woman refused to ask her boss to repeat his instructions because she didn't want to seem like an inattentive employee. She was too proud to admit she hadn't fully heard or understood what he'd said. She guessed at what he probably wanted her to do. She completed the entire important project completely wrong. Her boss was extremely disappointed by what seemed like careless, sloppy work. She had to redo absolutely everything over her weekend. Her pride cost her an entire precious weekend with family. The project was submitted late, which reflected poorly. She received a negative performance review directly because of this. A simple, "Could you please repeat that?" would have prevented the entire mess. 19. A man refused to call a professional plumber because he insisted he could easily fix the leak himself. His wife strongly suggested hiring a professional who knew what they were doing. His handyman pride made him determined to prove his non-existent plumbing skills. He made the small leak dramatically worse with improper repairs. Water flooded their entire basement within an hour. The extensive water damage cost $15,000 to properly repair. A licensed plumber would have charged $200 for the original simple fix. His pride multiplied the cost by 75 times. His wife never let him attempt any home repairs again after that disaster. 20. A woman refused to admit she was too sick to go to work and push through her illness. Her coworkers kindly suggested she stay home and rest. Her dedicated pride made her insist she was totally fine. She fainted dramatically at her desk from severe illness. Paramedics had to be called to the office. She was hospitalized for dangerous severe dehydration. Her medical bills totaled $8,000 for treatment. She unknowingly infected 3 coworkers who all got sick. Her pride had created an entire workplace health crisis. Staying home one day would have prevented all of this. 21. A man refused to ask for help loading his truck because he wanted to demonstrate he could do heavy lifting alone. The antique furniture was clearly far too heavy for one person to manage. His brother offered assistance multiple times, but he waved him off dismissively every time. He tried to lift a massive heavy dresser entirely by himself without help. He threw out his back severely with a sharp pain and collapsed. He needed emergency room treatment immediately for the back injury. The back injury required many months of expensive, painful physical therapy. His total medical costs exceeded $10,000 for all the treatments. He suffered chronic, debilitating back pain for the rest of his entire life. His pride about his physical strength had permanently damaged his spine. His brother felt guilty for not insisting on helping, despite the refusals. The dresser could have been carried easily with 2 people working together. His back pain affected his ability to work at his physical job. He eventually had to change careers because of the permanent injury. 22. A woman refused to tell her date she had a serious life-threatening food allergy because she didn't want to seem high maintenance or difficult. He suggested a restaurant specifically known for featuring the exact food she was deathly allergic to. Her accommodating pride made her agree despite knowing the genuine mortal danger. She ate something containing her known allergen, trying to seem easygoing. She went into anaphylactic shock right at the restaurant table in front of everyone. An ambulance rushed her to the hospital in critical, life-threatening condition. The emergency treatment barely saved her life at the last moment. Her date was completely traumatized by watching her nearly die at dinner. There was definitely no second date after that terrifying medical experience. Her pride had almost killed her over wanting to seem flexible and easygoing. Simply mentioning the allergy up front would have been completely fine and normal. The restaurant would have accommodated her dietary restriction without any issue whatsoever. 23. A man refused to ask for a reasonable deadline extension, even though he desperately clearly needed more time to do quality work on the project. His understanding boss had publicly offered flexibility to anyone who needed extra time. His capable pride made him insist loudly he'd definitely meet the unrealistic tight deadline. He rushed frantically through the complex project, doing extremely sloppy, rushed work. His final product was terrible quality and obviously done in a hurry. His disappointed boss rejected it entirely as completely unacceptable for their standards. He was reassigned to a much less important role with lower visibility. His pride cost him significant career advancement opportunities he'd been building toward. Asking for just 2 more days would have let him produce truly excellent work. His co-workers who'd requested extensions produced much better work than him. His boss lost confidence in his judgment after seeing his rushed work. 24. A woman refused to rent a storage unit and stubbornly insisted everything would somehow fit in her tiny, cramped new apartment. Her experienced friends warned her repeatedly the place was far too small for all her belongings. Her determined pride made her force all her possessions into the impossibly cramped space. The apartment became so cluttered and packed, she could barely move around at all. She constantly tripped over boxes and precarious piles of stuff everywhere. She broke her ankle badly falling over a large pile of her belongings. Her medical bills were $6,000 for the ankle treatment and recovery. A storage unit would have cost only $100 per month for the extra space. Her pride cost her mobility, significant money, and months of painful recovery. Her apartment looked like a hoarder's house instead of a home. Friends stopped visiting because there was nowhere to sit down. The broken ankle prevented her from working for 6 weeks. 25. A man refused to ask for any salary negotiation advice because he thought he knew business better than anyone else possibly could. His experienced friend who worked in HR offered to review his job offer letter carefully. His business pride made him arrogantly decline the helpful offer of assistance. He accepted the very first salary offer without doing any negotiating at all. He learned months later he easily could have negotiated $15,000 more annually with simple conversation. Over his entire 30-year career, his pride cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost income. His friend could have helped him negotiate properly in just 10 minutes of advice. His ego about business knowledge cost him a genuine small fortune over time. His friend had successfully negotiated for dozens of people in similar situations. The company had actually expected him to negotiate and had budgeted for it. His immediate acceptance made him seem desperate or naive to his employers. 26. A woman refused to ask for help parallel parking and held up traffic for 10 frustrating minutes, trying repeatedly and failing each time. Other patient drivers offered to guide her into the tight parking space, but she waved them away angrily. Her driving pride wouldn't admit she genuinely struggled with difficult parallel parking. She finally hit the expensive car behind her while trying to squeeze in. The accident caused $3,000 in damage to the other vehicle's bumper and panels. She was completely liable for all the repairs to the damaged car. Accepting help from the other drivers would have taken 30 seconds total. Her pride cost her $3,000 in massive public embarrassment from all the witnesses. Traffic had been backed up for blocks because of her stubborn attempts. Other drivers were honking angrily at her repeated failed attempts. She could have parked elsewhere and walked a block instead. 27. A man refused to tell his golf buddies he'd never actually played golf before in his entire life. They invited him to an exclusive course, and he pretended he knew exactly how to play the game. His athletic pride wouldn't let him admit he was a complete, total beginner. He was absolutely terrible and slowed down the entire game frustratingly for everyone. His wild, uncontrolled swings nearly hit other golfers on the course multiple dangerous times. He was politely asked by course management not to return to the expensive golf course. His friends stopped inviting him to any sporting activities after that embarrassing day. His pride cost him valuable friendships that had lasted for years. Admitting he was new to golf would have been completely acceptable and fine with everyone. They would have happily taught him the basics and been patient with his learning. The golf pro offered beginner lessons that he'd been too proud to accept. 28. A woman refused to ask for IT tech support and tried to fix her malfunctioning computer herself without any technical knowledge. IT support offered to help immediately, but she insisted she could handle it independently without assistance. Her tech-savvy pride about computers made her decline all professional assistance offered. She accidentally deleted crucial, irreplaceable work files while attempting random fixes. The lost data cost her company $25,000 in damages and lost client work. She was immediately fired for the expensive, preventable mistake that could have been avoided. It could have fixed the simple issue in 5 minutes with proper tools. Her pride cost her $70,000 per year job that she'd held for 5 years. The company had invested significantly in her training over the years. Her resume now had an embarrassing termination she had to explain to future employers. 29. A man refused to ask for professional help during his move and tried to carry absolutely everything himself to save minimal money. Professional movers with insurance and proper equipment were readily available for reasonable rates. His strong pride made him determined to do the entire move completely alone. He dropped and completely shattered his expensive brand new TV while carrying it downstairs. The TV had cost him $2,000 just 3 weeks before the move. He also seriously injured his back from all the overexertion and improper lifting. Movers would have charged only $200 for the entire job with insurance coverage. His pride cost him $2,000 plus significant medical expenses and chronic pain afterward. His injured back prevented him from exercising for months. Friends had offered to help, but he'd insisted he didn't need anyone. The TV couldn't be repaired and was a total loss. 30. A woman refused to tell her hairdresser she didn't like the haircut while it was clearly in progress, and she could still see it going terribly wrong in the mirror. She was too polite and proud to speak up during the actual cut. Her non-confrontational pride kept her completely silent throughout the bad haircut. The final haircut was absolutely terrible and completely unflattering to her face shape. She had to pay another expensive salon to fix the disaster cut. The emergency fix at a better salon cost $200 additional on top of the original cost. Speaking up during the original cut would have prevented the entire bad experience. Her pride cost her money and months of bad hair she absolutely hated. She avoided social events because she was so embarrassed by her appearance. The hairdresser would have been happy to adjust if she'd just spoken up. She wore hats constantly until the hair grew out enough to fix. 31. A man refused to ask for directions to an important job interview and relied solely on his faulty memory instead of using technology. He got hopelessly lost in an unfamiliar part of the city and arrived 45 minutes late looking flustered and sweaty. His navigation pride cost him the job opportunity immediately upon arrival. The position paid $80,000 per year with excellent benefits and room for advancement. He lost the significant career opportunity because he stubbornly wouldn't stop for simple directions. The company hired someone else who'd arrived professionally on time for the interview. His stubbornness cost him a life-changing career opportunity he'd been excited about. The hiring manager had been ready to offer him the job based on his resume. His late arrival made him seem irresponsible and unreliable. He'd practiced his interview answers for weeks but never got to use them. 32. A woman refused to tell her trusted mechanic about a strange, concerning noise her car was making for several weeks. She was too proud to seem like she didn't understand cars or basic mechanics. The persistent noise was actually a clear warning of major developing engine trouble. Her engine failed catastrophically on the highway during rush hour traffic. The complete engine replacement cost $6,000 for parts and labor. Mentioning the noise early would have been a simple, relatively inexpensive $200 fix. Her pride about seeming knowledgeable about cars multiplied her car repair cost by 30 times the original amount. She had to rent a car for 2 weeks while hers was being repaired. The rental added another $600 to her total costs. Her mechanic showed her exactly what had failed and how early detection would have prevented it. He'd serviced her car for years and would never have judged her for asking questions. 33. A man refused to ask his accountant about a confusing, complicated tax form he didn't understand at all. He was too proud to admit he didn't understand basic financial tax documents. He filled the form out incorrectly based on his incorrect assumptions and guesses. The IRS audited him thoroughly and found all the errors. He owed $15,000 in back taxes, plus significant penalties and interest. His accountant would have explained the confusing form in 2 minutes for free as part of his service. His pride cost him $15,000 in taxes and penalties he didn't actually owe. The audit process took months and caused him significant stress and anxiety. His accountant was disappointed he hadn't asked for help, since that's what he was hired for. The form had specific instructions he'd simply ignored because they seemed too complicated. 34. A woman refused to tell her doctor she hadn't understood his medication instructions clearly during her brief appointment. Her pride kept her from asking for any clarification about the dosage or timing. She took the prescription medication completely incorrectly for 3 full weeks. She ended up back in the hospital with serious complications from improper medication use. The complications cost $20,000 to treat properly and required additional hospitalization. Simply asking, "Can you explain that again?" would have prevented the entire dangerous medical crisis. Her doctor had written everything down, but she'd been too embarrassed to admit she didn't understand. The pharmacist had also offered to explain, but she'd waved them off confidently. Her pride nearly caused permanent damage to her health. The hospital stay meant she missed work and important family events. 35. A man refused to ask for help programming his complicated new smart TV and threw it out the window in complete frustration over his inability to work it. He couldn't figure out the complex settings and menus after an hour of increasingly angry trying. His tech pride wouldn't let him call customer support for free help. He literally threw the expensive TV out his second-story window in rage. He immediately bought a new one for $2,500 to replace the destroyed television. The old TV just needed one simple setting adjusted properly in the menu. A 5-minute support call would have fixed it completely for free with easy instructions. His pride and anger cost him $2,500 for a replacement TV completely unnecessarily. His neighbors witnessed him throwing the TV and thought he was crazy. The destroyed TV landed in his garden, and he had to pay to have it hauled away. Customer support could have walked him through the setup in minutes. 36. A woman refused to ask for help reading a menu written entirely in a foreign language while traveling abroad alone. She ordered something completely random to seem confident and worldly to the waiter. The dish she got was disgusting and incredibly expensive, and she couldn't eat it at all. She paid $80 for food she took 2 bites of and had to leave on the plate. Her worldly pride about seeming sophisticated and experienced cost her dinner and significant money. Asking for a translation or English menu would have been completely normal and expected. The restaurant had English menus available, but she'd been too proud to request one. She went to bed hungry because she'd wasted her dinner budget on inedible food. Other tourists at nearby tables were using translation apps without any embarrassment. The waiter would have happily explained every dish if she'd simply asked for help. 37. A man refused to tell his personal trainer he was injured and kept working out through genuine increasing pain signals from his body. His tough pride made him push through the worsening pain instead of resting. He turned a minor, easily healable injury into a severe permanent one requiring surgery. Surgery was eventually required to repair the damage he'd caused by continuing. His medical bills were $30,000 for the surgery and months of recovery afterward. Resting for 1 week initially would have healed the original minor injury completely naturally. His pride cost him $30,000 and many months of painful recovery and rehabilitation. His trainer asked him multiple times if he was okay, and he insisted he was fine. The trainer would have modified his workout if he'd known about the injury. His athletic performance never returned to his previous levels after the severe injury. He had permanent limitations on certain movements for the rest of his life. 38. A woman refused to ask for help with heavy weights at the gym and lifted without a safety spotter present. Her independent pride wouldn't admit she needed safety assistance from anyone nearby. She attempted too much weight without proper form or technique. The heavy loaded barbell fell directly on her chest with full force. She suffered multiple broken ribs that required immediate emergency treatment. Her emergency room visit cost $10,000 for treatment and x-rays. A spotter would have prevented the entire dangerous accident easily. Her pride nearly crushed her chest and could have killed her from the weight. She couldn't work for a month due to the broken ribs and breathing difficulty, The gym had staff available to spot, but she'd refused their offers of help. She developed anxiety about weightlifting after the traumatic accident. 39. A man refused to tell his boss a project deadline was completely unrealistic given the scope and complexity required. His capable pride made him say confidently he could definitely do it on time. He rushed frantically through it, working late nights, and did terrible sloppy work. His boss was genuinely disappointed by the poor quality that didn't meet standards. He was passed over for the promotion he'd been working toward for 2 years. His pride cost him career advancement and the salary increase that came with promotion. Being honest about the timeline would have been respected and appreciated by management. His boss had asked specifically if anyone needed more time before setting the deadline. Other team members who'd requested extensions produced excellent work and were recognized. His rushed work damaged his professional reputation within the company. 40. A woman refused to ask for help using complicated new software at her workplace that everyone was transitioning to. Her tech pride wouldn't admit she was confused by the program's interface and functions. She made costly errors in critical data entry that affected multiple departments. The errors cost the company $40,000 in damages and corrections. Free comprehensive training was available, but she'd been too proud to attend. She was fired for the expensive preventable mistakes that showed poor judgment. Her pride cost her her career position. The software company offered free onboarding sessions she'd skipped entirely. Her co-workers had all attended training and were using the software successfully. Her manager had asked if she needed training, but she'd confidently declined. The errors she made had ripple effects across multiple client accounts. 41. A man refused to tell the tailor his new custom pants were uncomfortably too tight on him around the waist. He was too proud to admit he'd gained weight recently and needed a larger size. He wore the uncomfortable tight pants to an important business event with clients. The pants split completely during the event in front of everyone at the conference. He was utterly humiliated in front of all his professional colleagues and important clients. His pride cost him professional dignity and respect in his industry. Admitting the fit issue to the tailor would have been completely fine and normal. The tailor could have easily adjusted the pants in one day. His colleagues talked about the incident for months afterward. He lost a major client who witnessed the embarrassing pants splitting. His company had to send apology gifts to the clients who'd witnessed the incident. 42. A woman refused to ask for help changing a flat tire on the side of the highway at night. Her independent pride made her determined to do it herself despite no experience. She injured her hand badly with the tire iron trying to remove the lug nuts. Her medical treatment for the hand injury cost $2,000 at the emergency room. Roadside assistance would have cost only $50 and arrived within 30 minutes. Her pride multiplied the cost by 40 times and caused a painful injury. She was stranded on the highway for 3 hours trying to change the tire herself. Cars whizzed by dangerously close while she struggled with the tire. Her hand injury required stitches and she couldn't use it properly for weeks. The roadside assistance was included free with her insurance, but she didn't know. Her phone had reception and help was just a call away the entire time. 43. A man refused to tell his friends he couldn't afford the expensive restaurant they enthusiastically chose for dinner together. His financial pride wouldn't admit his current difficult money situation to the group. He charged $200 to his already maxed credit card for his portion of the meal. He couldn't pay the bill when it came due and accrued massive interest charges. His pride cost him $300 in eventual debt and damaged his credit score. Simply suggesting a cheaper restaurant place would have been completely fine with everyone in the group. His friends would have understood and chosen something more affordable for everyone. The interest charges compounded for months before he could pay it off. He had to skip other important expenses to cover the debt from the dinner. His credit card interest rate was extremely high at 24% annually. 44. A woman refused to ask for help assembling complicated furniture according to the confusing instructions provided. Her handy pride made her insist she could follow instructions perfectly without any assistance. She assembled it completely wrong with pieces in incorrect places. The furniture collapsed dangerously when she sat on it the first time. She was injured in the fall and hit her head on the floor. Medical bills were $5,000 for treatment of her injuries and concussion evaluation. Instructions offered free assembly assistance with a phone number to call. Her pride cost her $5,000 and a painful injury that could have been much worse. She had a concussion that required her to rest for 2 weeks. The furniture was damaged beyond repair from being assembled incorrectly. She had to buy replacement furniture after the disaster. The assembly service would have cost $50 and taken an hour. 45. And finally, a man refused to admit he was wrong during a heated argument with a police officer about a traffic law technicality during a routine stop. The officer was citing him for a clear violation he'd committed. His legal pride made him argue extensively and aggressively about his interpretation of the law for 10 minutes. The officer added several additional citations for his argumentative, disrespectful behavior and attitude. His original ticket was only $150 for a minor violation. His additional citations totaled $800 more on top of the original fine. If he'd just accepted the first ticket politely and respectfully without arguing, he'd have saved $650 and could have contested it properly later. His pride about being right cost him hundreds of dollars in fines he couldn't afford. He could have contested the ticket properly in traffic court with preparation and evidence. Instead, his massive ego made the situation dramatically worse on the roadside. His lawyer later told him he'd turned a dismissible ticket into multiple serious violations by arguing. His argumentative, prideful attitude had created additional legal problems unnecessarily. The traffic court judge was not at all sympathetic to his disrespectful attitude toward the officer. The police officer's dashboard camera recorded his entire aggressive behavior clearly for the court. His pride on camera looked absolutely foolish during the court hearing. What should have been a minor traffic issue became a major legal and financial expense. His refusal to ever admit any error cost him money, time, and dignity in front of the judge, demonstrating conclusively that defending your ego typically costs exponentially more than simply admitting human fallibility ever would, illustrating perfectly that the wisest individuals acknowledge their limitations, while foolish people mortgage their futures defending imaginary infallibility, and revealing the uncomfortable truth that pride remains humanity's most expensive character flaw throughout all of recorded history. These cautionary tales reveal how ego consistently bankrupts people financially, emotionally, and socially across every imaginable scenario where pride overrides common sense. Notice the recurring theme throughout all 45 stories. Individuals prioritized appearing competent over actually being competent, choosing protective image over practical reality every single time without exception. Here's the uncomfortable reality nobody wants to hear. Admitting ignorance costs your ego momentarily, while defending false expertise costs everything you actually value permanently and irreversibly. Hit that subscribe button if these humbling disasters convinced you that asking questions beats pretending to know answers, because intelligence means recognizing what you don't know, rather than pretending omniscience.